Hey guys, welcome to the show. It's Asher Au. Welcome to the Starting Million show. So today is also a very interesting show because I'm inviting a guest all the way from a very different part of the world compared to Singapore. And but what's very interesting is that I'm actually I'm trying to do something. I'm trying to mentally slow myself down for this particular show. Why? Because my guest this time around, with a quick chat I had with him just a little bit earlier, has more energy than me. Right? He's very energetic. He's a guy. He's a very bubbly guy. So I think in order to make sure that I don't try to fight the energy with him, why don't I let him? He is the star of the show anyway. So I'm going to let him shine and be as bubbly as he can. So that's what I'm going to attempt. To do today. But anyway, for my upcoming guest, okay, his name is Robert. So I will introduce him a little bit. But what we're going to be talking about today is that we're going to be talking about something called personalized nutrition. So I used to think, nutrition is nutrition, but there's he has a lot of study into it, and we are going to be talking a little bit like one of the things, according to him, he says that most nutrition advice is actually very generalized and it's focused on the composition of the food, but not so much on, like, quite literally on who is eating. And that means that when it comes to the food itself, right, nutritional advice cannot be general. It needs to be specific. So that's what I'm going to be finding out a little bit from him later on. And also, what else I'm going to ask him? I'm going to ask him, of course, what I mentioned about personal nutrition. I'm also going to ask him a little bit about, how would you recognize what kind of nutrition is that you need, and key things for optimal performance. All right. So, by the way, if you're watching together with me right now, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. This is a live show. Feel free to ask them in the comments so that we can actually bring up your questions live and we can have an interaction straight up. All right. So, without further ado, allow me to play my usual video and we will get started in a while. See you in a bit.
You cut me loose and set me free. You cut me loose. You make me win in every way. You show me how to spread my wings. Yes, I'm the winner of the day. You cut me loose and set me free. You make me win in every way.
So my guest, Robert, is a biotechnologist in the field of life science with focus on molecular biology and nutrition. He loves to help people improve their knowledge and acquire new habits, which is why he decided to become a coach in the fitness and nutrition in addition to his master's degree. Now, based on his findings and combined with his own understanding and imagination, Robert is developing and applying a method for nutritional counseling that supports his clients in achieving their goals through something called somatic intelligence. All right, so without any further ado, I would like to introduce you to my guest, Robert. Woo! Welcome to the show, Robert. You're currently muted. Okay, you gotta unmute yourself, my friend. There we go.
Number one. So,
This is how we know
我
we're
很高
live.
兴上架你的节目，我很任性。
很好，欢迎. So Yolanda is here as well. Dr. Yolanda. Hi. Welcome.
Yeah, hello, Yolanda. Nice to see you here on the show. And thank you very much, Asher, for joining you, for being your guest today in your awesome show. So, and I'm not alone here. You've seen in the picture that I present to you that it was taken in Bali in 2014, and there was this monkey. A lot of my friends who I told that, hey, I'm going live, he's like, will this monkey be there all there? I was like, come on, dude, this was on Bali. It's like, if you don't bring the monkey, I don't attend. So I need to show you up. I'm here today with Mr. Monkey. Here we go.
Okay.
Woo! And he's even having the banana. So,
All right, cool.
So if I get stage right, I have my personal coach here.
He'll be there to make sure that there's we're here monkeying around, so he'll be sure to make sure that we don't go too bananas. Yolanda is here. Nice to see both of you. Thank you for joining us on the show, Yolanda. And all right. So we have quite a lot of things we want to talk a little bit about, and I'm sure once we get the question started, there's no stopping you. All right. So without further ado, let's get started a little bit by getting everyone to know a little bit about yourself, Robert. So can you just share a little bit about yourself, Robert? Just tell us a little bit about yourself.
A little bit. Oh, there's so much to talk. Where should I start? Well, I am originally from Germany, so everybody who is in Germany, herzlich willkommen here in Asher's live show. And I'm born in Poland, so wszystkich to kolegi, którzy tutaj patrzą, to serdecznie zapraszam do zobaczenia tutaj. Okay, this was everything. I can speak still a little bit Swahili and Spanish, but I'm a little bit nervous. So Habarigani, Rafikina, Dadana, na Kaka. Yeah, also Kaka and Dada means brothers and sisters in Swahili. And
wow, that's a lot of language.
I've been a little bit along the road. I haven't been to the States yet, but I hope personally that I ever will be there. Yeah. So,
Okay.
Susie,
Thank you,
care by
Sophie.
Susie is here. Two handsome guys. Yeah. Thank you very much for your comment.
Thank you. And of course, there's one more language you speak very well, which is body language, because you know how the body reacts, right? There's one more you understand too.
I try to. I always learning on that. I always really realizing new things that about my body that I haven't seen before. So it's like really this thing like develop yourself 1% a day. What does it actually mean? It's like really finding one thing out about you that you didn't know yesterday. For once, for instance. So, but without a delay, you want to know a little bit about myself. So I was born in Poland, went to Germany when I was of the age of 3, was raised there, went to school, did my biotechnology and my LifeScience degree for my master's and my bachelor and my master's, and I was doing my PhD on nutritional science when my project was cancelled that I was working on, and I was offered another project, but this project didn't resonate with me. And I fell like into a first point of, I was dissatisfied. Yolanda says, Guten Tag. Hi, Guten Tag, Yolanda. This is the greeting in Germany. And I fell into a little bit of a depression, and I even felt my body for the first time, like really, I experienced a pre feeling of what we call in nowadays times burnout. So I decided, this is nothing for me. I don't need a doctor to get a doctor degree, right? So I decided, no way. I need to do something else. So I dropped my PhD, packed my stuff, get a visa, working holiday visa, first to New Zealand, then to Australia, and I traveled there. And I spent, nearly 2 years there. And then afterwards, I went even for another half year and traveled through all the beautiful countries in the South Pacific Ocean, so including Malaysia and Singapore. So I also been there in 2014. I also visited Taiwan, Thailand, the Philippines, Bali, and anything else? I wanted to visit Vietnam. I missed Vietnam. Sorry for the Vietnam people here. I'm coming back here to you. And along the way, there were two things that always accompanied me. I mean, by the way, I'm in Australia. I met the person to whom I am now married, and we share a child, a 7-month-old boy called Marvin. So this can happen when you fall off the main road, I would say, right? When you don't go out through the PhD and start a corporate job, but you take another route, a different route, an unusual route, as I would say.
That's interesting, man. You travel all the way, and you've been traveling around. Definitely, please drink a lot of water, man. It seems like there's a lot more that's coming up. You're gonna be talking about. So, all right. So, another question I have for you, right? Something.
The two things that I was accompanying me was actually sports and nutrition. So everybody who figured out that I am a study biotechnologist, they are like, "Hey, Robert, you're a scientist, right? So you know stuff." Yes, and they're like, "Okay, I have a problem with my diet. I cannot get it out." There were also people who wanted to know to teach to get German lessons from me. So this is also something that I re-figure out. I love to provide knowledge and service to other people. And this was something that I also accompanied in my PhD thesis, that I loved more to organize things like, Christmas parties, like outdooring, or giving lessons, tutorial lessons or internships to younger students, rather than focusing on my own project. This was something that I realized. And along the way, as I said, with the nutrition, it's funny. There were so many things that I gathered. In order to help other people, I started to study this topic myself. I mean, even a part of my university on my own, on my desk. And there was some controversial information. I mean, people will say, nowadays we have the vegan movement. Like, veganism is this one and only food source that everybody needs to convince. And for ethical reasons, I totally understand that. But if you go to some places there where plants are not growing, for example, to the desert or to the Inuit tribes, there are no plants, and yet they survive because they are eating seal meat. And if you go there as a vegan and try to live there and try to convince the Inuit to say, hey, please please don't eat the seal meat, they will say, okay, what we gonna eat then, you know? So there are really a lot of controversial information. I put it up to my mission to figure out what it is. And I came across a little study, which I'm going to answer in the next question.
Okay. Great. And Yolanda is saying over here, you should have gone to her. So she will show you how to do a PhD.
Oh, awesome.
Definitely. All right. There's still hope for us yet. So the next question.
I'm not that old. I can still find something that I'm still definitely gonna try it again once I gather enough information and find the topic, like now, the personal nutritional science, which will really enthuse me.
Okay. So like I was saying earlier, which in case you are watching right now, you might not realize, but we do have questions prepared. All right. So like for example, this question I'm asking right now is like you spoke a little bit about it, right? But what inspired you to become a coach in fitness and nutrition on top of your master's degree? So you already spoke a little bit about that. Can you answer this?
Yep. So there was a personal experience that I had. I went 2018 from my corporate company to Tanzania, where I was a mentor, and there was a lot of delicious food there, a lot of fruits. I went out with my friends there, with my Tanzanian friends, and eat there and didn't have any scale. And then I came home and people asked me, "What have you done? Have you been eating all day long?" I was like, wait, what do you mean? What do you mean by Dean? And then I looked at the mirror and I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I got a little bit, chubby. And then I stepped on the weight, and it was the first time ever that I can remember that I was more than 100 kilograms. So this was quite like, wow, shocking to me. Like, and I didn't know. I wasn't eating there any candies, and any what is it? Any artificial food, I was eating a lot of fruit, lots of vegetables, lot of carbs in form of rice and potatoes, and a lot of meat. But I didn't really pay attention. And this is the thing, that we don't actually pay attention how much we eat, when we eat, because I basically was eating when I was not in the laboratory there to support the people. Then I was always out with them, and I was invited to that kitchen, I was invited to their kitchen, and wow, it was quite cool. And it was cool in the moment, but I didn't realize, I didn't pay attention how much I was actually eating. And and in Africa it's quite warm in Tanzania, in Dar es Salaam, in Sumbawanga. So I was not able to do a lot of sports there, apart from a little bit, yoga stretching after in the evening. So my physical level went very down, and my food consumption went up. And this is where I become overweight. And this was another impulse why I started to study it for myself. And then I came across a very interesting study from the Tel Aviv Institute, from the Weizmann Institute in Israel. They are having they also have a TED talk, Dr. Aaron Siegel, and he was the first time bring up this term of personal nutrition, that we are genetically unique. We are working on similar principles, on the same principles, but if we go into the detail, every one of us is unique, and everyone reacts to certain foods differently. And this was quite exciting information, because before I was thinking one diet fits them all, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was maybe quite interrupting. Like suddenly he just stops talking.
Oh no! I was just letting you focus on your speaking. So I didn't want to interrupt you, because you were just sharing what inspired you, and I think it's important that we all kind of know that you came from a situation where you realized your body was not in a state where you wanted it to be, and then because of that you did your studies, you realized that your body reacted differently to different kinds of foods, and then it's not even you're taking artificial food, you're taking whole foods, right? Foods that but your body is reacting in different ways, which is why you got to where you are right now. So, quick question for you: what's your weight right now compared to previous weight? What's your weight right now?
So I acquired a habit of weight myself every day. And in addition to my body weight, I also have some scale that is also showing me, I have a little handle where I can grab there, and then there will be a little bit electrical impulse. So bioanalytical scale, and it's also showing me my body fat composition and my body muscle composition. So right now, today, I think it was somewhat around 75, 76 kilogram.
Wow.
So compared
Nice.
to 2018, I almost lost 30 kilogram.
Okay, wow, almost 30 kilograms off from that. So that's quite a big jump.
I had my ups and downs, no worries. In the beginning of the year, I was back on 90. We got our son in December last year, and then the first weeks was like everything for my little boy, everything for my wife, don't take care, and I fall back onto the old patterns that I was aware what I was eating. Most importantly, get the necessary energy on that I'm functioning properly, and then keep going. So in March, when I started when things were calmed down, when the initial excitement was, relaxed and normality kicked in, I started again to put myself on the scale and do my exercises in the regular basis. And this is also when I also registered my one-man business on Germany.
Okay. So one German man, right, from Poland. So and so Yongin is saying hi, Asha, everyone, and they're just saying hi to each other and hi again to each other. And wow, Yolanda, wow, 30 kilograms. That's you wouldn't want. I mean, if it's good to have all those weight off, so you're feeling lighter, all right? So okay, so in this case, I think we can lead on to the next question quite quite well. I think it blends in quite nicely. Was that? Can you explain in as simple words as you possibly can, right? What really goes into nutritional counseling, which also you actually mentioned, you shared this with me, something called somatic intelligence, and I had to Google what that means. So you could you explain to us what does it mean, what goes into nutritional counseling, and perhaps what is somatic intelligence? Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So nutritional counseling is more than just giving you some information. Nowadays, information is available through the internet and through social media like nowhere else in our country. And so is actually the abundance of food. And I've observed by myself, as well as for my close ones, that people tend to don't want to miss out anything. So they really go and get a lot of information, get a lot of food, they consume as much food as they can, and they forget about that our body is designed by evolution for surviving a lot of periods of starvation, which we can nowadays call fasting, because fasting is nothing than starving on a conscious level. And but it's not designed for this abundance of food. So it's like really the first time in our modern history that we don't need to go out. If you are hungry, we don't need to go hunting and with the risk of not getting anything and then starve. We can just go to the supermarket or go to the next 7-Eleven, or even nowadays, even if it's everything locked down, you can even let your food be delivered and you can store it in the refrigerator. So this gives us a lot of opportunities.
Let me just ask something real quick. You mentioned something interesting. I have not heard someone say it before. Is that our body is designed to get into a fasted state, but not into a state where we get an overabundance of food. Did you say something like that?
I said, yeah. I said maybe I can explain a little bit more. When we are eating and our body gets more than it requires to eat, it will store the food because it doesn't know when it will get the food again. Maybe we will get a little bit more than required. Then instead of just wasting it in form of energies or feces, or getting it out of the body, it starts to store it because now maybe we found a few bushes with nice fruits and with nice vegetables. We eat that. Who knows what will come tomorrow? This is the design of our body, of our primal body. Now our mind and our environment evolved very rapidly, so we don't even know, and our body is catching up. So this is why. When we are eating too much, the body doesn't know when it's too much, so it starts to harvest and harvest and harvest and harvest and harvest. And at some point, some problems kick in that we never faced before. Like along with the overweight, we will get like the blood vessels will be clogged in. We will have a long-term and increased blood sugar levels, which then leads to pre-diabetes and later on to the real disease, which is called diabetes type 2. And yeah, a lot of people don't even are not aware of that. And this is where the nutritional counseling kicks in to make people aware of how our body actually functions. Now you can say, okay, but don't we have any therapists or doctors for that? I'll say, yes, we have them. But when do you go to a doctor? When it's already so far that your symptoms are really appealing, when you feel like, sorry that I said I feel like crap and need to go to the hospital. Then the doctor will tells you, oh, you have diabetes type 2. And then for you, it's like from today, you are healthy. Next moment, you have the diabetes type 2. But in reality, it was a long process that has evolved over weeks and months and maybe years of habits that are not good for you. And you didn't notice that. It's a little bit, actually, I must also say that it's a little bit like cancer. It follows undetected for years. And then suddenly when it's detected, it's like already in stage 3 or stage 4. So it's really evolved over the years. And as a counselor, we try to make people aware of it and prevent them reaching that stage where it becomes bad for them.
Okay. Right. So what is somatic intelligence then?
Somatic intelligence is an intelligence. So I first start off with two different words or two different terms that it's now more public. It's called cognitive intelligence. That's what we have here, our logic mind, our logical head. This is actually what our society accepts as, successful people. They're intelligent. They can use problems very efficiently. They can use technology very efficiently. This is here from our new part of the brain. I think it's called, I forgot how to say that. Is it Paralympic brain? I forgot, but I think that evolutionary, the prefrontal cortex is it. Exactly. This is causing our cognitive intelligence. Then we have our emotional intelligence. And the emotional intelligence is how you interact with people, how do you interact with your own impulses. And somatic intelligence is very similar like emotional intelligence, but it's more regarding on your bodily function. So you listen to your sensory factors. That includes when you go to a gym, when you reach the limit there where your muscles almost fatigue, for example, because they're either sour or the mechanic stress is so strong that you cannot lift your weight one more time. In this sweet spot is actually the point where your muscles were stimulated most to grow. So when you go there and you lift some weights and it's quite easy peasy for you, then you can also stay home. When you need to really find this peak point where you really can experience the stress through either the lactic acid that's accumulating in the muscle that you're training or through the mechanic tension. If you reach this point and hold it long enough, this is the point where you will experience the highest muscle growth. And in a similar way, it also goes with appetite, with hunger. So, for example, borrow me this one. A banana. Now what I wanted to say. Yeah. When I'm talking to you, a lot of people, they will either talk with you on the live or working on some project, typing emails or going for prospects. And by the way, just chopping off the banana. Some people even would forget to peel off the skin. And the somatic intelligence are methods that are developed, that I have developed alongside with other nutritional counselors to help you to rediscover your somatic intelligence and work on that. Like becoming aware what you're eating, becoming aware, are you actually hungry at the moment? Or is it just like, a habit? A lot of people, they work in a corporation, and when they had their breakfast at 9, let's say, and they're going to a corporation at 11:13, no matter what, whether you are hungry or not, people stand up and just go to the canteen to get the lunch. And maybe because the supervisor just giving them like 30 minutes, they just shove it in and they really don't digest it here in the mouth with their teeth. They don't chew it properly. There's actually a theory that says actually we drink our food. So when we don't chew it here sufficiently enough that it will be in a liquid state and we swallow it down, our stomach and intestine will have a bigger, tougher time to digest this food. And this will cause, for example, fatigue. Maybe you experience it. You went out between maybe 2 sessions or between 2 projects. You eat something very fast because you want to catch up with your work. And then you come back and then you feel like, I want to sleep, you know? And this is exactly because you didn't pay enough attention. How do you eat properly? You swallow it. Maybe the chunks needs to be redigested here in your stomach, and this takes more time. So more blood from your head that you require to do your work is going to your intestine. And this could be avoided if you just properly chew the food up front here.
Okay, so if I'm understanding you correctly, cognitive intelligence is basically how your brain process information, how to use it properly. Somatic intelligence is understanding how does your body react to different kinds of food, and you are literally working on that, operating based on how to use your body. Is that right? In a very simplified way.
It is in a simplified way, and it's in the right. I'm in the right direction. Sorry, I'm too close with my earphones to the microphone. So,
So yeah, we also have Adrian. Hey, welcome Adrian as well. Adrian as well. So Adrian is they're saying hi to each other. Fantastic. Yeah, please go ahead.
I forgot what I wanted to say. Can you bring me back?
Yeah. I was actually talking the direction of what somatic intelligence is, but I think also there's you also mentioned a little bit about in terms of having personalized nutrition is pretty important. But when it comes to, like, for example, right now, cognitive intelligence, somatic intelligence, there's so much information out there already. Why does one really need personalized nutrition information when there's already so much information about nutrition out there?
Yeah, so information is there, that's true, and it's really a good first step. When I'm giving nutritional info counseling, I first make sure that the person understands, I would say, the basics. Yolanda says hi to Adrian, so cool. Yeah. I was here with information, yeah. Now, information itself, you can read a book about nutrition. I mean, I know that you are also providing and offering people life challenges, Asher, right? So when you could also just tell them, okay, when people will ask you, how do you do a live show? You could just say, okay, here's the smartphone, here's the live button, click on it, and let's go. This would be the shortcut way. Now, of course, some people are already self-disciplined and self-conscious enough to do that. But there are also a lot of people who would say, oh, wow, but what should I say? And what would other people think of me? Like this. So you have this knowing doing gap. You know how to do, but there's more to it to really do it. And you would be the coach or the teacher who is helping the people to close this gap when it comes to doing lives. And I'm the specialist, or I regard myself as the specialist in helping the people of closing the gap from knowing what food is good for me, of actually doing the food. And I give you a demonstration of what I do. So if you were somebody who would be interested in my coachings, I'm gonna show you a little bit. Let me show you this little thing. This is a cup of Coca-Cola, right?
Yep.
And I hope you can see it. Can you see it already? Like, okay, now the focus is there. So in this cup of this 330 milliliters, you have mainly sugar, 35 grams. Yeah. Now, this is the information that you have.
Yeah.
And now I'm helping the people, my customer clients, to visualize that by, let me see if I can put it like here. You can see maybe here, the little scale. I put a plate on this scale. So yeah, it's a friendly scale. It even says hello. So let me see if I can maybe adjust it a little bit. So Now let's see. It has problem to tear down. Now it's there. And now I will give them as much sugar until it will spot 35 grams. See, I have now 16, 25, 35, 34. So, yeah, should be it's a little bit 30. So, but I think you get the idea. Now I will present it to you, and I say, when you drink this, this is the amount of sugar you put yourself into.
Wow.
And now this is the difference between having the information in handy and really understand what it is to your body. And we are talking about 330 milliliters. I know people who drink 3 to 4 5 liter every day of this stuff.
Yeah.
And now that you are aware of it, at least you say, you know now, hey, okay, oh wow, I'm doing that to me. Okay, maybe I should change something. And this is where it comes. I cannot change you. I cannot change the person. I cannot change the person's thinking, but I can make him aware that what he's doing to his body in this way. And by doing so, he will say, okay, Robert, what should I do? And then we can say, for example, okay, how about you subtract, instead of drinking 2 bottles with 1.5 liter Coca-Cola each day, how about you subtract one of these bottles with 1.5 liter of pure water or with sparkling water? And this is something that people can work on. They will know, they will still have their Coca-Cola. They will still have the sensory experience with the Coca-Cola, but they will have substitute at least part of it with water, with something that's considered as very healthy.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So so that's a very good demonstration that you put over there, and I think let me bring myself back on the show. Right. So I think it's a good demonstration you did over there. So that information at the back, sometimes it's just like 30 grams until you actually see it. Then you know how much sugar that really is, and I think that's a good way of showing us literally.
Yeah.
That's a lot of sugar. So so in this case, right, with knowing this, right, another question over there that's follow up to the next question I have, right? This is a good way to demonstrate that. So this is how do you identify what kind of nutrition that someone needs for optimal health and performance then?
Yeah, this is actually a very tough one, and I must admit, there are ways of how to measure it. Actually, the Weizmann Institute in Israel, they're using a method to find out one biological marker, which is the glucose signal. And what you can do, what they did at first a study. They used different cohort of 800 people, and they let them eat, like different kinds of food, which contains a certain amount of carbohydrates, because the sugar is one of the many indicators that we can see how people react to certain amounts and of certain kinds of foods. And they discovered that intrapersonally, so the person itself, if I eat the same banana, the same amount of sugar through a banana every time, my blood sugar will have a similar reaction over time right after eating. But it doesn't mean, what they also discovered is when another person, for example, you, Asher, would eat the same kind of food in the same amounts, that it's possible that your blood sugar will react a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. So, on the other hand, if I would eat, for example, a Snickers, I might, it will be like my blood sugar doesn't spike so well, or it will really remain flat. And when you eat the Snickers, for example, the sugar spike will be very huge. And now our current conventional nutrition counseling will say, this is bad, this is good. Eat less of this, eat more of this. When in reality, when you have many of the spikes, when your blood sugar levels, go up and down like crazy over a period of time, this is where it cannot go back to its basics, and you will develop pre-diabetes and on long-term diabetes type 2. So what did I say? I was reacting sensitive on this one. You were reactive sensitive on this one. So for the nutrition counseling will be good for you, because you will avoid eating this and eating more of this. While when I will eat only bananas and experience, then it will lead to the appearance of the sickness that the nutrition counselor will just trying to avoid. And this means so for me, it would be the other way around. I should avoid eating this, and it would be okay to a certain amount to eat them. Of course, if it's also a quantity-based thing. If I eat 5 things of this, of course, even then, even my blood sugar would spike. But it's also of the kind of.
Of course, I think everything there needs to be a certain balance, right? And everything good in life, there needs to be a certain balance. So, but how does one actually identify that spike? Do we require tools? What do we require to discover what actually creates a spike?
Yep. So what creates a spike? In our
for example, you shared the example of the banana and the Snickers bar, right?
Yeah.
So, say for example, because some people react to the banana, as you're saying, and some people react to the Snickers bar, but we can't tell. We can't tell physically from outside. So how does someone actually identify that their body is reacting? And I do think that this is why we need somatic intelligence. But how do we actually identify that?
Yeah. So the people who were on a study, they were getting a little device which is called a continuous glucose monitor. They put it under their arm. It's actually there for preventing it's actually available for diabetes patients, but for the sake of the study, and also normal people were getting this kind of sensor under their arms, and they could track their blood sugar levels over their arm. So this is one concept, and I'm actually working out a method where we can detect, use this algorithm combined with a smartphone. But we are not there yet. So what we can do instead is listen to. Well, I like actually the quote that was said from one of your guests the other day. I think it was from Ngazi Mary. The old way is the best way. And the old way is like the evolutionary way, and the evolutionary way is the design from our body to react to certain amount of foods before we actually eat them.
Right.
Now, I can give you a very good example. I had yesterday, actually, I was cutting a salad, and I took one capsicum, right? Hongjiao, glaube ich, is right. Is the word in Chinese. So the capsicum, it will look nice from the outside. Then I cut it open, and I see some weird spots there. Then I said, never mind. I bite into it. The moment I bite into it, my taste make me an alarm. He said, "Don't eat that." I really had a feel and sensory of disgust, and I spit it out. I threw it away. I've heard stories that people here in Germany, they ignored the similar reaction. They said, it's healthy, right? Information tells me it's healthy. They eat it nevertheless, and they experienced very severe sicknesses.
Okay.
So because they just didn't listen to the bodily functions. So they just didn't know that this was actually a warning sign.
Okay. So that means we need to pay attention to our body signs, and because there's a difference, right, when it comes to that, because sometimes it's just a matter of taste, but there are times when it's a matter where the body rejects it, right? So we need to kind of understand that, because sometimes it's just a new taste. For example, let's say the fruit durian, right? In Singapore, we have this in Singapore and Malaysia with this fruit durian, but because some people have never tried that before, it's a taste that repulses people. Or another thing is there's like licorice, like Germany Germans do like licorice. I thought it was good as well, but when I first tried actual licorice, I'm like, what is this? And I couldn't take it. So so that means that when it comes to the body itself, when you reject food because it's new, is that something that we need to take care and be aware of, or is that it's like you just need to get used to that taste?
So this is also what part of my counseling and also of my coaching. So you will process the food. The interaction with the food actually starts from seeing it. Yeah. So when you see the food, your body already will give you some signals. Now you can follow up and smell the food, look at it, feel the consistency. These are all exercises that makes you aware of the food itself, of the food that you're going to eat. And then I like to give my clients the taste, like eat the food and describe your immediate sensory experience, like how does it feel, how does it taste, what's the consistency. And then they should write a diary. A diary. Yeah, I always mix up diarrhea, and dairy. So sorry, because some of the foods are causing diarrhea.
Yeah. I agree.
And then we write out, and then we'll say, like, okay, I eat this, and I wrote in my diary that I have diarrhea, especially when it's a dairy product. I eat a dairy product, I wrote it down in my diary, and then I have diarrhea. So it can happen. It didn't happen yet, but I imagine that it can happen at some point of my course, of my mission. So, but yeah, by writing it down, you become aware, and this will teach you to see whether this food that you are eating is really good for you. And I personally recommend you to do it with plain food. So don't eat meals where you have rice, where you have meat, where you have all amounts of vegetables and maybe a juice on top of it, because we cannot distinguish what of it really is the content or the component that is causing maybe some problems. So I always recommend you to eat at least once a plain food, like 1 banana per day, and then you just describe it. And the rest of the day you can just act normally. And then with it, we will determine whether the banana is good for you, based on your sensory feeling, based on your somatic intelligence.
All right. So that means we need to kind of to really understand how our body reacts to food. It makes sense to keep a log, a diary, to keep track of how we react to the same kind of food over a period of time. So that's a way for us that determine how our body reacts to food. Interesting. So,
especially Asher, since we are now living in the opportunity in the world where we can get food from all over the world. I mean, I would say in the medieval ages, I wouldn't be encountered with a banana. I wouldn't even know what this is, and it so does not. My body also don't know, and this is why. I mean, maybe I don't know. I think you in Singapore, I don't know, a good meal in Singapore that I like. I already forgot. You had so much, because many cultures from India, from Thailand, from former Chinese region. You have like a lot of multicultural food. So Western food, like American fries, is something that you wouldn't encounter. Your ancestors wouldn't encounter. Or potatoes in general. It's also something that comes from South Africa. So potatoes, they are actually also having some food or some components that are actually harmful on the long term. So we need to be careful, especially they are on the skin. So one recommendation is always peel the potato before you eat it, before you cook it. Some people don't do it, and then it depends on the person. If you are from South America and you already eat it for a few generations, or your ancestors eat it, your metabolism slowly adapts to that. But if you are new to that, relatively new, I mean, we're talking here about a few 100 years. This is for our body. This is new. Then you need to pay attention and maybe reduce the amount of food.
All right. So since you mentioned that as well, so in regards to food, it's also personal training. Right, we'll talk a little bit about training and nutrition, right? So, what are some of the general information out there, that you found that we need to be really careful about?
So, as mentioned before, we are all unique. That means we deserve and we require a closer look. Now, I've seen in the internet a lot of advertisements like, oh my God, I use this diet and I lose 7 kilograms in 2 weeks, which is very fast. Now you need to be aware that when a client is having this testimonial, it works for the client. but it doesn't need necessarily work for you.
Mm.
So it's a lot of research and development. And also actually it's more a habitual based thing, because most of the people, when they start something new, they will do something that triggers a different in behavior. For example, they go on a weight loss diet and they spend some money to it, that they will say to them, okay, now I spent so much money, now I commit myself to do that, I invest into myself, I'm gonna to do something, I'm gonna to follow this program. And it's not been the program itself, but the decision that they spend money to it, that they're spending energy and time to it, that they commit themselves to do something different that they haven't done before, that is causing the weight loss. And
Right.
in addition, we are only composed of body fat. We have composed of many, many, many different things. The main few things are water, carbohydrates, proteins, which is stored in our bodily muscles, and fats. And fat is the one that most of us want to get rid of. Well, when you first start a lifestyle change, be it on food, be it on doing more sports, what of the four things is the easiest to get off from the body? What do you think, Asher?
Fats, I'm guessing.
Okay. It's actually water, because we don't have water. So when you lose your first 2 kilograms, it's neither fat, no muscle, nor carbohydrates. It's actually water that you get rid of in the majority part. So
Makes sense.
So and then comes the carbohydrates, and then slowly the fat and the muscles will deteriorate because the body requires energy, and carbohydrates are the easiest available form for our metabolism. For most of us, there are people who tend to be more skinny because they can utilize fat very well, and then there are people who are not very utilized to burn fat, because they require it, for example, to live in the cold. So people like from Russia, they tend to, if they eat too much food, they really become bulked up, bigger, bulked up. So as an example, as I said, it's always individual, but you have some tendencies in the tribes. You have in the ethnic groups, we have some tendencies. However, when you eat food that is unnatural to you, and it's easier for you to gain weight, because the body doesn't know what to do with it. It's not used to it. And and personal training nutritionist, I'm focusing now here in our session on nutrition, but there's more to it. I talked a lot about changing paradigms and changing habits. Yes. An example. Have you been encountered maybe when you are a child that you were told by your parents that you have to finish your plate?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
This is something.
We don't waste food. Our parents beat us when we waste food. Because here in the Asian context, we don't waste food. Our parents beat us when we waste food.
Yeah. Here in Europe, we have something similar. We were told, or we were intimidated by our parents, that if you don't eat the plate of your food, it's like people in Africa are starving. You should appreciate that you have something on your food, so please eat it up, or people will starve in Africa. And now it's like, what logic is there, right? Mm-hmm. What is having not eaten my plate completely and ignoring, by the way, this is where I want to go, ignoring the point where my body tells me, hey, it's enough, maybe after half of the portion I've eaten enough, but my parents, or I'm forced, conditioned, intimidated to continue eating my food beyond the part of getting saturated. It has nothing to do with it. Yes, I don't know. My parents came from Poland. It was during the Cold War, during the Soviet Republic. They were really living in a place of scarcity, where there was not food available every time. Like when the store's full, 1 hour after the store was opened, it was wasted empty. So if you would go there on Tuesday to get something, there was no food. So from their standpoint, from their time, I understand why it is important to eat your full plate and don't waste any food. And I think it was a similar situation here in Malaysia, Singapore, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah. I think there's some similarities, because I think a lot of our parents came from a situation where it's kind of coming up from a war, coming from situations where there was lack, and therefore wasting food is wasting resources. But whereas right now we live in this day and age where there is an overabundance of food compared to a lack of it. But because of, people don't change that quickly, that mentality, that culture from back then just continue to be passed on down, and unknowingly been repeating that. So yeah, very interesting that you mentioned that. And yeah, go ahead.
They're doing it with the best intentions, because this is the time that they were raised, that they experienced, and they want to make the best of it. And so the best of it is what they are what they experience by themselves. But we need to at some point become aware that the ecology, and the abundance, the situation that we're living in is similar. Not for example, the internet. It hasn't been there until the 90s.
Yep.
We couldn't be communicated with that. Like my parents couldn't communicate with your parents because there was simply no connection, and now there is.
Yep.
So to putting a very obvious example, why our generation lives in a different world than our parents' generation.
Good points. Definitely very good point. So Yongin has a question over here for you. Is that how much water do we drink a day then?
Okay. Are we talking about, so first of all, water is not necessarily water. You mean water with some micronutrients. You don't mean like deionized water, because if you drink deionized water, it will take your nutrients out of the day and it will harm you. But you mean like something like tap water or sparkling water or mineral water. There's a minimum that the German Food Association is recommending. It's 1.5 liter per day. However, they don't regard the gender, the age, the body weight, the fitness level. And I thought, like, okay, 1.5 liter is at the absolute minimum if you have a sedentary job. And I have a nice rule of thumb that I use to me. Every 7 kilogram of body weight, it's 250 milliliters. So if you are 56 kilogram of body weight, I recommend you to drink 2 liters. Plus, for each half-hour workout that you're doing, another 250 ml. So with this, at least when I apply this, and it's like the first 21 to 30 days where you really need to be attentive and count it. After a while, it's building up on your intuition is building up, and then you will know it subconsciously how much is good for you. But I also recommend to also add some salts to it if your water is went to some filtration process and lost some minerals. So I prefer to use really to get also your micronutrients along with the water.
Interesting. Yeah, so definitely the science to water as well. And a lot, because there's a lot of these health things that they remove a lot of stuff, but our body does need those minerals. Thank you for sharing that. So I learned something new. So a rule of thumb, which is if your body you just divide that by 7, and then for every unit of that, multiply by that 250 milliliters of water. So that's a safe range. So I did a quick math. I need about 3 liters a day. That's quite a fair amount of water I drink a day, I would think.
If you don't do any sport, but I think one of the posts I figured or I perceived that you are also going to the gym. I don't know if you right now are allowed to go to the gym, or if Singapore is experiencing another.
Yes, we just
lockdown.
Yes. So we had another restriction. So no gym for now.
No. Well, can I point in something out? And I will make a quick break and about that, and I would recommend you to get one of these.
Okay, I do have it somewhere. I just don't have it in front of me right now, but yes, I do have a training band.
Yeah, and they are really a good. If I also having a fitness channel, I wanted to wait for it until we come to the point where I want to share how you can stay in touch with me. But I'm having as a side project a fitness channel on YouTube where I'm doing sports videos without any equipment, and I'm focusing on three different motoric skills for the human body, which is flexibility, endurance, and strength. So in strength, I'm doing calisthenics. In flexibility, I'm doing some yoga or full body stretch exercises, and on the endurance, I'm doing some aerobic HIIT exercises. It's everybody who thinks like you want to get motivated and inspired, feel free to follow me along.
Okay, cool. Thank you. So we do have a couple more questions coming in. For example, so Yongin is asking what kind of salt to use. Are we using food salt or salt? What kind of salt are we talking about here?
So sodium chloride is like, the most raffinated salt. It is really big. It's only sodium chloride. So it's still better than nothing, but I would always try to get salts that haven't been, isolated further isolated in its parts. So I personally, when I do fasting in particular, because I fast every Monday, and I taking Kalmak salt, which contains sulfur, which is very good, which is also required by the body to build up proteins that contains cysteine, which is a amino acid that requires sulfur to build up. This is how I cover the need, and Himalaya salt. So I think I have here in the local, we have salt from the Himalaya. It's like this pink salt, the pink flavored salt, and of course the Kalmak salt, which is a little bit. It has like dark parts in it. It's a darker purple salt. I'm not in my kitchen right now, so I cannot show you. But if you are interested in it, send me. I can make a picture and then send you the name and the product information here on the channel.
Okay, cool. And Dr. Yolanda is asking another one. If we don't eat fresh fruits or vegetables in our daily meals, would supplements be as good?
When I fast, I also giving supplements, because when you okay, let's go to fasting. When you have a lot of these peak signals, for example, or if you wanna figure out what is the best food for me, the first thing that I would recommend everybody is figure out, experience hunger, experience a little bit of cravings. This is the best way to reignite this feeling of, okay, now I feel my body, he needs something, and this you can achieve through first intermittent fasting, which starts. I personally start with 12 hours. Like from 8 in the morning till 8 in the evening, I eat normally, and from 8 p.m. until tomorrow morning 8 a.m. I'm not eating anything. It just includes the 6 to 8 hours of sleep, and then you can start to narrow it down until you are like really 20 hours of fasting and only 4-hour window where you permit yourself to eat. And then you can really start to experience. And in this period, we try to avoid eating macronutrients, meaning fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. But we still need micronutrients, which are the salts or the minerals inside the salts, as well as the vitamins. And then I would recommend to eat, to get discovered via supplements. I hope,
okay.
Dr. Hugh, this answers your question.
All right. So she does have another question over here. So how much vitamin C do we need per day to boost immunity then?
That's
She's
so
throwing you-
interesting. She invited me here, so she has the right to know. Vitamin C is a water soluble vitamin by the composition. So I've read and vitamin C has a lot of functions, even a part of boosting your immune system. So actually here you can say the more you can eat, the more your body at some certain point when it's oversaturated is able to get rid of it via your urine. So the body, the more you give it, it's a little bit different than fat soluble vitamins like vitamin A, where you get actually toxic effects when you eat too much of it. So vitamin C is luckily okay with that if we eat way too much, because then the body is easier to get rid of it. So I would say the best fruit or the best vegetable that I actually ate is capsicum. So because as a vegetable, it doesn't have so many sugars as, for example, a kiwi or an orange, which are known to have also a lot of amounts of vitamin C. So I will switch from kiwi and oranges. I still eat them up once in a while, but mainly I say eat 1 capsicum a day, and with a red skin.
Oh, with the red skin. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we thanks for the questions. We are already hitting the hour. So real quickly, right, for you, Robert, just to ask as well. So if you have one key idea to share with 1 million people, what would that be? The reason I ask this usually is because it's called Starting Million, is because the idea is this: over a period of time, each of us in our lifetime, okay, it's not hard to imagine that we can touch at least 1,000 people in our lifetime, and in turn, they can also reach another 1,000 people. So 1,000 times 1,000 is 1,000,000. So if you had the opportunity to impact 1,000 people who could actually share that idea across to other people, what would that one idea be?
Good question.
Mhm.
Tune in your mind first. So when you tune in your mind and become aware about your relation to your food, then your body will follow to adapt. I mean, a lot of people, so a lot of people know I have my first 2 customers and they already honoring me for the service that I'm providing them. But before that, I was experimenting with my family, with some friends. And before that, even giving some advice during Australia. And I get a lot of knowledge. A lot of people that I asking them questions, for example, what is it that you want? Okay, I want to lose 5 to 10 kilogram. I ask them why you want to lose 10 kilogram. And this is where actually people start to do, okay, because I want to fit into my clothes. Okay, why you want to fit into your clothes? I keep asking them and they're like, why I should actually do that. And basically what I want to get out of them is that they should have a clear picture how they should look like when they get to the goal, how they should behave, what they can wear, how they can perform, like the picture, instead of taking an escalator, just take the stairs, because you are at ease when you lose the 5 to 10 kilogram, and I try to, I even told my 2 clients now, write it down, write it as a script, work on your self-image, the way you want to be, how do you want to behave, and maybe you want to do, like, my personal goal is in my fitness journey is doing 10 pull-ups without any help of this resistance band. Now I'm having a pull-up bar, so I can practice there, but I'm using the resistance band because I didn't develop enough strength on my back muscles. But I'm doing this on a regular basis because I know at some point I'm gonna get there. And I'm using meditation and NLP techniques, so neuro-linguistic programming techniques, to get myself tuned into my mind. So it's everything about the mind. And once the mind is set properly, the body will follow. And this would be the idea that I would share with everybody. It's a mind thing. Become aware of what you're eating, how you're eating it, which amount you're eating, maybe also when you're eating it. And once you set it out, create the version of you that you how you want to eat your food, how many amount you want to eat your food, when do you know when to stop. This is where the somatic intelligence will help you, and when you want to eat. And then you practice it. And I also had a little bit research on how long does it take or how often you need to practice one habit until you really acquire it. And it's somewhere about, when you do it once, at least once a day, it will take about 21 to 30 days. But if you do more, that will get faster. And if you do it irregular, then you should work on doing it a daily habit.
Okay, cool. So thanks for sharing that idea. And Dr. Yolanda as well is saying thank you for answering the questions. Okay, so
Welcome.
the other question I have for you is for those who are watching this and also watching on the replay, right? So how can people reach you if they want to actually connect with you?
So I provided you already a few links. So I am having a Patreon channel. I don't know if you know Patreon.
Yes, I do.
So cool. The Patreon channel is like a website where I am writing content and I giving you my insights about scientific research that I'm giving. So it's more like a internal public. It's an internal site where people can reach out for me. They can send me private messages. They can support me in my endeavor to get scientific results or scientific insights, as well as some techniques that I designed by myself to help people in general. Now, if you guys want to have personal coaching, I also giving personal coachings. Now I have 2 people who are profiting from my service and with whom I am growing. I have a framework how things are go, but of course I need to adapt this framework to each one of you. And by doing that, I also improving myself. And this is why I would like to provide you the QR code. I don't know if Asher, can you blend it in?
No, I don't have it right now. My bad.
Okay, then I will send a QR code maybe underneath on the comment section right afterward, where you can get to a Calendly and book a 30-minute free coaching with me. And one thing that I want to say is I can be myself, but as I said, everybody's individual. Maybe there are people out there who will think like, no, I don't like this guy. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. Find somebody by yourself, or then just keep looking until you find a program or a person who you can put your trust in. But if after the 30 minutes you think like, hey, Robert, you have so much, I don't know, you sparked something out in me that I want to continue my journey with you, that would be more than welcome then to help you. And since I'm just starting off, I'm giving to the first 10 customers of the first session package 50% discount.
Okay.
So here you found it.
Yeah, let me get rid of that.
Yeah. Oh, that one here. Hello. So because with the experience that I will gather by coaching you, I will also improve myself, and it's actually a lifelong journey. I love to learn and share from each other, with each other, by each other. So I love to do that, and grow along the way, for each other, with each other, by each other. So this is why why giving this offer, because I will learn most of it. I will learn definitely more. The more I teach, the more I will learn along the way. And since I'm relatively new in this business, this is why I'm giving this a special offer.
Right. Okay. So anyone who's actually interested to work together with Robert, do scan the QR code over there so you can directly connect with him. And so just say hi to him, and let's bring you back on to the center. And so Wang Yin is saying over here, thank you for sharing your insights, information. Yolanda is over here saying, awesome session full of new info on fitness and nutrition. Thank you so much for sharing all that. So any parting words before we end?
Well, the parting words were actually when I was talking about the coaching. Now, there are people out there who are. Everyone has a different personality, you know, and I would not let myself intrigued by a person who tried to put some coaching on me. So I would not like, hey, you need to, say, go now, right? You wouldn't say, I have the best method. You know, I don't want to be that kind of person. I can offer you my service, and it's up to you to decide if you can trust me or if you will go to another one. But don't let the other person or the coach intimidate you.
Okay,
that's one. All right. That's what I want to say, and this goes actually with not only for nutrition, not only for fitness, but for example, mindset or going on live shows. You know, in the end, I'm actually also a student. I actually also a mindset student. I am a student of the Thinking into Results program of Bob Proctor, and it literally took me 1 year to decide for it. And the coach that I'm doing with it, she was very patient. She let me do it. She let me decide. She let me decide when the time was right, and I was actually really waiting until I have my parental time and settle down in my new place, which I have now for 1 year now, and then I could do it. And this was the way that I wanted to have it. Other coaches, they were like, you need to decide now or never, you know. And I was like, hey, then better never, right? Or better another day. This is what parting words when it comes to coaching in general.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. So once more, guys, if you guys want to connect over with Robert, okay, you can actually go over to his Patreon over here. You can see on the screen, patreon.com/user !U equals 224335509. Or I think he mentioned a little bit earlier, if you want to connect with him over on Facebook, he does have a Facebook group as well. They can connect with him at facebook.com/group/130443482370351. It's a string of numbers. Whoa. If you want to connect with him, just feel free to connect with him as well, or just connect with him. Just search for his name, right? Robert Ulmann, and I believe you'll be able to find him, all right? Or if not, you can find him very quickly. Just ask me and I'll point you to him, all right? If you really need that. Okay, and alternatively, one more time, okay, just want to show this on the screen. If you need, feel free to scan the QR code. Yeah, just scan the QR code so that you'll be able to, work together with Robert as well. Okay, so with that said, thank you, Robert, for coming onto the show. Really appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I also very appreciate. So 感谢你啊。
谢谢，不客气，不客气。欢迎你再回来。So I'm going to just say bye and stay online. We'll chat after the show. All right? We'll stay. Yeah. Take care, man.
Okay.
See ya.
See you.
I cut him off. Just it says see. I'm gonna finish with see ya. All right. So, guys, thank you so much for joining in the show. Thank you for all the guests and for Robert being my guest, and also for you for watching the show. So, before I end, I just want to let you know, in case you haven't done so already, please do me a favor and follow me at Asher Au, and this is a place where I do my shows on Facebook and YouTube, and I'm also actually getting more and more people coming onto the show. And there are things that if you happen to be a guest, if you have some expertise and you want to be a guest on my show, please feel free to leave me a comment. Let me know. Leave a hashtag comment. You want to be a guest. Hashtag guest, not hashtag comment. Hashtag guest. You want to be a guest on the show? Let me know, and I'll schedule you to come back in. And one other thing is that I'm also planning, actually, something interesting. I'm actually planning out a series of training that's happening in my own private group. So if you want to learn about how you can present, connect, and sell, and because I'm also writing a book on that, okay, so if you want to learn and watch how I do it, and also learn the little tricks and stuff that I teach inside, feel free to message me. I'll bring you over into my group, or hit to my profile, click on that, and there's a link on there that you can get the free training inside my group. That is scheduled in a couple of weeks' time. Okay, maybe just more than a couple of weeks, but it's happening. It's happening. So with that said, my friends, thank you so much for joining the show. This is the end. I'll see you next time.